being aware of the body sitting on the chair. Aware of the breath going in and out. Allowing yourself to drop all the thoughts about getting here and all the thoughts about what you'll be doing later. Letting your mind just focus in on sitting, breathing, the sounds, temperature. Allowing the mind to settle. And try to remember the reason you decided to show up this morning. And based on that reason, set a positive intention to use your time well. So we'll recite the four immeasurables. And when we're doing this, when you recite the four immeasurables, it's really good to try to go slow enough to be able to bring thoughts of people to mind, so it's, you can just bring your family to mind, or you can bring, the community you live in to mind, or the world to mind, the war zones to mind. I mean, just whatever pops up. But it's just helpful to not make it just sort of words, just to kind of allow the sentiment to be heartfelt. And that takes a little more time than just, I mean, most of us know these, well, some of us know these words by heart, it's just, but we want to apply them at least in the moment we're saying them. Because we might not remember any other part of the day. It's nice if we could try to so sometimes it helps at the beginning, like with your motivation, your intention, is that if you're thinking about really being able to be more loving, more kind, more wise with your interactions with others, you can kind of have, okay, yes, what do I really wish for others? So we wish them happiness. We wish them to be free of suffering. We wish them to never have suffering, to never be separated from, the mind that's without suffering. And so even though, and we can include ourselves in this group of people, so even though we don't have the power to make this happen, we want to have the mind that's always thinking in terms of this, so that when we have opportunities to be kind or to be helpful or to be whatever, we're set for it. We've turned on the burner underneath that desire, so that is what arises for us. So it just takes a little bit of, I mean, this is what mindfulness is about. It's remembering the point, so it's not just plowing through everything you do. It's like, oh, there's a reason I'm saying this, or thinking, whatever. Does that make sense? I'm just going ad nauseum now. Okay, so may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. You can pause. Like it's a miracle that, we're able to talk and then we're able to not talk. So we want to slow it down. So when you say, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, you want to know what that means. So this is the mind of love towards others, according to the Buddha. But since happiness is not always present, then we need to have compassion. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Pause. And if you think of some real people, like if you just, like you just imagine a family in a refugee camp, just, wish that they could be at ease or get what they need or just share a moment of humanity. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. This is, it's called like sympathetic joy, that we can be joyous for other people's joys, but it's also this, it describes a mind at ease, where no matter what's going on, your mind's not suffering. Your mind is at ease. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Often in Buddhism, we recite things 3 times. It's repetitive that way. And one of the reasons that they do things 3 times is so that, like the first time you recite something, it's for your body, blah, 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 and the second time's for your speech, you're creating merit of speech. Then the third time it's your mind, maybe by the third time you're listening. So it's like, oh yeah, that's right. So, uh, so that can be the advantage of saying something more than once, whether you do it as a whole verse or just do it by line or just pause and do it mentally. These are simple ways to help us remember what's important to us. So if you find a prayer or a verse or a stanza like in Shantideva's Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or something that you've read, you might, and it just hits your heart every time, you might want to memorize that verse or write it down and make sure you include that in your morning thoughts so that you can just go, oh yeah, that's right. This matters to me. I would really like to feel this way more often, or it's, I don't want to get caught up in my worries. I want to, focus on how I can come from this place. So anyway, nag. All right, let's read the Refuge of Bodhicitta prayer if you're comfortable doing so, page 98. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So what is this verse teaching us? Can you leave that up for a minute? The refuge verse. So what does I go for refuge until I'm enlightened imply? What happens when you become enlightened?
You don't need to go for refuge because you're enlightened being. You can actually.
You are the refuge. We're aiming to become the refuge for others. So until we're enlightened, we're not that yet, but it's that, that determination to follow those who become enlightened in order, to understand whatever it gives you to have examples of enlightenment, but that the ultimate refuge is our own. We take refuge in, it's called the resultant refuge. This is causal refuge, where we go for refuge to holy beings, and, that's going to create the cause. It's part of the cause for becoming enlightened. So the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly are our examples. The Dharma is in speech. The Buddha is an example of someone who's become enlightened, and the Supreme Assembly are Arya Bodhisattvas who have, realized emptiness as it is, realized reality. So they have that path of seeing, that wisdom. So by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, I have become a Buddha. So what that's telling us.
To listen to the teachings, may we get insight, realization, so that we can become that refuge,
have those realizations by listening to the teachings. So like we were listening to teachings with the purpose of changing our minds, changing our actions, changing our speech, so and that we need merit, that this is when they say you need to accumulate, they say lots of things. but it's like accumulate, the two baskets or something like that. You're accumulating merit and wisdom. So the collection of merit is doing things like generosity, practicing patience, practicing ethics, making offerings, all these kind of things, The wisdom is having developed your concentration to the point that you have realizations of how things actually exist. We need both. And the path to doing that is listening to the Dharma. That if we just rely on what we already know, we'll stay where we are in samsara. We haven't done a good job of getting out. If the Buddhist teachings are correct, we've been like this since beginningless time. We want to get out of this habit, So, and then of course, in order to benefit all sentient beings, that we don't do this just because we'll be free of suffering, but we do it for a greater purpose. And that greater purpose is part of the merit that helps us get there, It's what keeps us going when, we're doing something that we don't want to have to do, but we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it because the teachings say this is how you'll be able to benefit others. I love the colors you're wearing, Graciela, to just be purely mundane in this moment. Very nice to have you in my eyesight. But I'm not going for refuge in the colors. Trying not to. So, okay. Thanks for keeping the text up. You can take it down. So we've been talking a lot about the methods to try to catch ourselves, to notice what we're doing, catch ourselves if we need to before acting or speaking. The different skills we need in order to improve our awareness, in order to be able to make use of our awareness, because it's not just enough to notice. We also need, when to go stop and when you go, all those things. But we also want to, so that's part of how bodhisattvas are always mindful. And what they're mostly mindful of, or what's always there in their mind stream. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm sitting next to a rock, which I am, but I just know I'm going to knock it off. So we'll trade. Thank you. Now I'll knock this off and I'll be worse. Okay, so there's a Himalayan salt lamp on the desk. That's what I was referring to those of you who can't see what in the hell I'm doing. So, okay. So bodhisattvas are always under the influence of becoming enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, that they want every moment of their mind and their speech and their bodily actions to be involved in things that will get them to enlightenment and benefit others. So we need to work at that. We may not be there yet, but we don't have to feel bad about that. This is how we get there, is studying. And so some of the things we need to study, there's something called the 3 higher trainings, and so we need to be, of course, I get those mixed up with the 3 principal paths. So let's see if we can get them right. No, okay. But, there's one that's ethics, concentration, and wisdom, So ethics is all those is at its basis. Ethics is the determination to do no harm. That your decisions are, start there, and do no harm. And then the Buddhist teachings, like most religions, teach what are those actions that cause harm. And so they're lumped in the 10 non-virtues, So the 10 non-virtues are very kind of specific, but you can generalize when you reflect on them to all kinds of areas. So What are the 10 non-virtues? What are the non-virtues of body?
Don't murder.
Yeah, don't kill. Don't steal. In fact, it's don't kill, as opposed to murder. Murder has a very specific meaning. It's included under don't kill. And by the way, don't murder. Sexual misconduct. Intoxication. That's not really a non-virtue. Intoxication is not considered a non-virtue. It's usually a vow, because when you're intoxicated, you do all the other non-virtues because you lose control of your mind. So the 3 of body are, you don't want to kill with this body. No sexual misconduct with this body. So you're guarding relationships. You're guarding the lives of others. What's the 3rd?
Stealing.
Stealing. So you're guarding the belongings of others.
But why isn't it don't murder?
Because you can kill without murdering. And we don't want to do either.
Yeah, but the difference isn't the difference between killing and murder intention?
Sort of. When you take antibiotics, is that a good example? No, they're for bacteria. If you take antivirals, anyway, when you take a shower, let's make it easy. We have all these microorganisms, right, in our body. In fact, we have more of them than we have human parts. It's something by the trillions. We have microorganisms, whereas we have millions of human parts. Okay. So when we take a shower, we can put it, my intention's just to get clean. Well, how do we do that? We kill the dirt. So we can tell ourselves that when we eat meat, we're just trying to satisfy our bodies, our hunger, our need for food, but it doesn't mean that you don't have an intention for that meat to be dead. So it's wonderful that we no longer live in a time where you have to hunt for food. We don't actually have to kill in order to eat meat ourselves personally. So we're a few steps away from the action of killing. We walk through the grass, we accidentally kill things, right? And where our intention may not be, but it's like this. My teacher in Australia was talking to the nuns, as he often did, even though it was, not just a class of nuns. We kind of point out to the nuns that every time you get in a car, you're going to kill something, because something will hit the windshield, you'll run over something, blah, 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 little bitty things, whatever. And he said, so you better make sure you're driving that car for a Dharma purpose. That's your intention, because you intellectually know you will kill, and you're still choosing to get in the car. Okay. So yes, there's a difference between the intention to murder someone and the intention to accept the fact that things are going to be killed by your presence on this planet. Big difference. However, what you're trying to do is to achieve a state of not killing. Buddhists don't have to kill anything. Their bodies are not dependent on food and water and blah, blah, blah.
When I put my cat food out, I go sometimes in their pants. I have to stop those ants.
Well, you have to try, though, to remove them without killing them.
You can get it. Sorry to interrupt. You can get a dish that has a little moat around
So they
it.
can drown on the way in.
No.
No, they won't.
I'm teasing you.
No, seriously,
I know. I just remember Sagi Kadro. She had a big problem with ants when she was was it Singapore that she taught for so long? At Amitabha Buddha Center, probably. Anyway, but she would have ants getting her garbage. So she put her garbage can in a moat, in something with it, and then her ants would drown.
So then,
Okay.
still,
but that's our
killing.
But
no.
but
So
the
that's-
point of it is,
If I put out ant bait,
then you're
Is it
killing.
better?
Then your whole intention is to kill. Same with roach motels or whatever they're called. Ant spray. Yeah, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. When we do that, when we have the exterminator in, why do we call them an exterminator? Yeah. Yeah, of course there's a karmic difference.
Anger
Mhm.
sends you to the lower realm.
Like when you put those
Deeper
ant
than
bait
killing
out
insects.
because they're getting in my cat's food. There's a bit of anger there.
Killing even an insect out of anger, killing accidentally, even though they're both.
Yeah, all of those is true. All of that is true. The point is, we want to remember we created the cause to live in a place that killing is part of it. And we want to develop a mind that doesn't create that cause. Not to get uptight and freak out over the fact that we kill things, because we do. But this is why there are prayers you can say before you eat meat to kind of remove the negativity of eating the meat. This is why, ancient cultures had all sorts of rituals around, thanking animals for giving them life. So we want to value life, everyone's life. So, you might choose to walk on a sidewalk instead of walking over the grass as a way of practicing this. Are you getting my drift? So it's not about that there aren't different consequences. And it's not about the fact that taking a vow to not kill is specifically talking about not killing human beings. So reckless driving where you kill someone in an accident is less severe than plotting a murder against someone and then following through. However, it's not free of karmic effects. No. That's all, but it's not meant to, but it's just that we really want to reflect on these things so that we can really understand what does it mean not to kill. And we can't do anything about that in terms of the fact that just being here kills insects and little things that are in our bodies and, all that stuff, But we want to take responsibility for the fact that we created the cause of that. It's not separate from us. It's not just all the fault of all those tigers out there.
so if I have a butterfly garden where I take care of the butterflies and put them in cages so they're safe and let them out, does that in any way have anything to do?
Well, you have to just keep thinking about it.
The karma of getting rid of the ants.
I'm thinking things I don't have the wisdom. Only a Buddha knows all the different karmic layers, but we all have to think, do we want to cage anything that's alive? These are all things, we want to think about. I remember one time when one of the nuns had saw a fly or something in the house, and so she very carefully caught it, so she could let it out, go outside and also get out of the house, it was in the teacher's house. And, she came back in, she was so happy that she successfully, gotten the fly. And he goes, do you think it's safe now? There's a limit to what we can do. So yes, you want to take it outside, but don't kid yourself into thinking you've now made it safe, because it's gonna die. We can't stop that.
But at least I can.
Right.
Yes, and this is why all of this is about training our minds. It's not about the outcome. It's about working with our minds so that we have a mind that really doesn't want to do harm. Doesn't mean it won't do harm. We will do harm. But if the more we reflect on these things and think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a world where you didn't have to kill to survive, you know, where our very presence isn't a danger to others.
I have a question. When you said in a car incident and somebody gets killed, but
I said reckless driving.
reckless driving. Oh, but isn't also the other person that is getting killed somehow karmically involved in that?
Oh, you can't kill someone who didn't create the cause to be killed. That doesn't excuse your behavior. You're creating the cause to be killed in the future. It's quite interconnected, isn't it? So it's really important not to get all twisted up with karma, trying to figure out, ooh, let me try to make sure this. If you get caught up in like, oh, how can I mitigate the karma on this? Who are you worried about? Yourself. And that's the opposite of the intention of the teachings on karma. We do want to understand karma, cause and effect, because we want to create the cause to have another happy, happy realm rebirth. Who came up with these phrases? Happy realm rebirth, so that we can continue to study and become, become enlightened in order to benefit all sentient beings, But we don't, but when we start to try to go, oh, I need to make sure, blah, 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 and we get obsessed about it. We're obsessed about protecting our own life. And we just need to accept responsibility for that. This is how, because we rationalize just about everything we do and think and say. And we want to be able to honestly appraise ourselves. We want to be able to reflect on these things and be able to go, oh, there I am. This is me seeking to get this, so that we can keep trying to exchange our cherishing of ourselves to cherish others. So the 10 non-virtues help us understand, that the importance of guarding the lives of others, the importance of protecting relationships, of protecting others' belongings. And then you have the speech. So we know lying's one, What's another one? Harsh speech. Divisive speech.
Sarcasm.
That's harsh. Idle speech. And that's considered the worst because it wastes the most time. We waste other people's time by just kind of, and we waste our own time. So, but it's not the worst in terms of harm, and except the fact that time matters. Yep.
Sharing speech and idle speech. Is it when you're talking about somebody that is?
Well, that's gossip. That's divisive speech. It's more in the lines of divisive speech, but yeah, I mean, it's meaningless speech. You really, sometimes we have conversations, and when you really look back, you realize that was a whole lot of nothing. We don't need to talk, like if you're not talking about the meaning of something or learning how to do something or sharing, trying to learn about your feelings or understand someone else's feelings, these things matter. But what do we usually talk about?
The weather.
Okay, that's one subject. I talk about a lot. I hate the heat. Okay, huh? Ourselves, in what way? So we do spend a lot of time telling people what's happened to us. Yep. Or what we wish would happen to us. or why someone prevented this from happening to us. Yeah.
What people have done to us.
Well, yes, absolutely. We often talk about people who are not present. And that's danger. Like, so it's just like a big danger side, because it's like, that's so easy. You start rumors, you harm people by, because usually we're not mindful when we talk about others with someone else. It's just like, and it can be positive or negative. But the point is, they're not there. Why are you talking about them? So it's more of just really looking at, like, if you read the text, like in Lam Rinpoche, it tells you that, like monks and nuns really shouldn't be listening to the news. What is it? He said, it's phrased some way, the business of nations or something like that, politics, all of that kind of stuff. But obviously, if you want to be, you want to vote and engage in your society, then, you need to be informed. But there's there's a limit to it all, where it's like, okay, that's enough, I don't have to go into that nasty article about blah, 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 or all the law cases, and, all the court cases going around and all that stuff. But there is no easy answer. So you want to look, is this speech being, is it true? Is it, divisive? Is it harsh? Is it just meaningless?
And what more can I get out of something that already, how do you say, gave me the information? Go deeper and deeper and deeper and
Right.
more and more and more. How can you even have space for anything else?
When you get sucked into the internet, and then you go, oh, another hour is gone. Was it worthwhile? It might have been. Sometimes when I study, I keep going, oh, what does this mean? And then go there. It might be useful, but it might not. So we just, and nobody can really judge. I mean, a Buddha could, but we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at our mind. How is our mind when we're doing this? Is it useful? Is it going to get me? I mean, one easy way is this going to get me to enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings, faster, or be of no use at all? Is this going to make me a better partner? Is this going to make me a better parent? Is this going to make me a better whatever? That kind of thing.
Watching the news can't be a negative thing.
Of course.
What about if you watch the news to find out the injustices and the problems in the world, and you apply the four measurables?
Yeah. I mean, so this is why it's not, the answer to just about any question in Buddhism is it depends. It depends on your mind, it depends on, like sometimes when you watch all of that, because I find watching the news really great for making prayers in the morning, of exactly, and then reciting the four immeasurables, but if you, once you step across that line where you started going, God, I can't believe they're doing that. You've crossed that line. And then you're creating negative mind. So, you don't watch the news to judge others. We shouldn't have conversations to judge others. That's not useful. Anything that feeds anger or craving, not use, or miserliness. I mean, all, whatever we can think of. That's contrary to virtues. This doesn't mean that we don't also need rest, resting our mind from trying to be mindful of every little thought we have and da 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 da. It's called the power of relinquishment. It's my favorite power. I'm kind of kidding, but not entirely, but that's where you just kind of, okay, I'm just going to be. Oops. So bodhisattvas, one of the big skills they have to develop is this awareness and then this ability to work on their minds, affect their minds. And they use these, what's called the perfections, as a way to practice developing their mind to greater and greater capacities of virtue. So generosity, ethics, patience, effort or perseverance, concentration and wisdom are the perfections. And these are the activities of bodhisattvas as they're working on, and these relate to each other. So the reason why generosity is first, as far as a practice, is because it's the easiest. It's also a necessary stepping stone to ethics. Why would that be? What gets in the way of often our generosity and our ethics, for that matter? Attachment. So being able to give everything away is lessening your attachment. It's that practice, and we have to have wisdom with it because, it doesn't help. Like, teachers are always telling people who are about to ordain, you don't give everything away. Unless you're walking into a community, and they provide, like your kitchen utensils. So it's just, but it's like when you realize that you're holding on to something, because it's your favorite, you might want to consider giving that away, at some point. Not right away. But you can't practice ethics if you've got attachment clouding your view. Because attachment to what you want gets in the way of being able to just do what's best to not harm others. Yes.
What exactly is ethics?
Ethics is, at its basis, is the wish to do no harm. What that means is it depends. But the non-virtues, the 10 non-virtues, are examples of things that are generally not ethical because they do harm.
Is
Okay.
that the same as morals?
I don't know. Depends on how you define morals.
Might be.
It can be, but it's not about judgment. So, so that's why I can't say a term that's used in other religions, it depends on the connotation of it. I don't know. I've been, for 25 years, I've been thinking in terms of ethics, not morals. So it's, but it's morals in the context of protecting belongings, protecting relationships, protecting your speech, protecting harm from speech, protecting, now the mind. We didn't talk about what are the non-virtues of mind because I can't pronounce the first one. That's it. Covetousness. So ill will and ignorance. So like, we want to try to keep working on understanding how things actually exist, not the way we just assume they exist or the way we impute them to exist or whatever. But, we're not, we also have to do some very definite study and practice towards understanding emptiness. So that'll, unless that's our main focus of our practice, which means you spend an awful lot of time in meditation, that's going to be an influence most of the time in your life. So you just, so it's the hardest one. Covetousness, though, is all about me. I want this and I want it for me. So not that isn't that wonderful? I want it for them. So, because that would be generosity. So ill will is that that's, where you want to do harm. Ill will is just the opposite of ethics. It's that desire to do harm.
Or is it just hoping that somebody will drop dead?
That's wishing ill will. That's a mental.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I used to wish when I was young, I used to wish when I go to the beach, because I didn't live in Florida. So when I went to the beach, it was, I would kind of just wish sharks didn't exist. It wasn't that I wish them dead. I wish they just didn't exist. Oh, I think that was a leftover from Buddhist training in previous lives. But essentially, that's a mental action of ill will. So it doesn't have the same, all the same results as, wishing someone ill will, plotting to kill them, killing them with torture, all of, everything you add to it that's negative to an action increases the heaviness of the negative karma. And it's going to make it a lot longer before it to exhaust.
Did you ever have ill will towards mosquitoes?
Oh yeah, and I had ill will towards ticks and ill will towards, I don't know, cockroaches, So, these are all these things that you want to let go of. You really want, those are perfect opportunities to work on the mind that automatically hates something that's doing something you don't like. So the ants are eating your cat food, or the things that get into the water bowls, or whatever. It's sort of like you want to train your mind, not that you want to stop from like protecting your cat food. It's that you want to stop from hating the ants for doing what they're of course going to do. They need food, and you're putting it out very nicely for them. They're not thinking I'm stealing, and they're not stealing. There's no way for that ant to know that food's not there for them.
So I had one of these ant-proof dishes. One day my wife was complaining at me that the cat food was full of ants. And I went out and I looked at it, and it was this tiny little leaf that was making a little bridge. And they just making a little bridge, and they told each other, there they were.
Mm-hmm. If you're obsessed with perfectionism, this could be your future. If you're a workaholic, this could be your future. If you're obsessed about anything, this could be your future. Ants do not have a different mind than we have. Ants have a poor physical support for their mind. They're people. They're considered persons. Persons are any being with a mind. But of course, when we say person, what do we think? Mostly me. So anyway, so we develop these skills of awareness and concentration and the ability to not follow meaningless thoughts, things like that, not to get distracted by something that's just totally unimportant, so that we can really, when we reflect on things like, what does it really mean to be patient? What does it mean to be generous? What does it mean to be, wise? What does it mean to have ethics? That we can really go deeply into it and not get pulled away to, some distraction, And that helps us to develop guiding principles for our actions so that we can really think, and so you just come up with things where you really, suddenly you'll be doing something, you'll go, oh my goodness, I'm really manipulating the situation to get this. Or, oh my goodness, I'm always hurrying, so I'm first. Oh my goodness, there are ways in which we don't allow others to be first. We don't allow others to get their favorite. We don't allow others to, and because we're always thinking about what we want now. And we don't even have to think about it in the sense of like making a decision. It's just what pushes us through our day. It's such a strong habit. So we really want to look at, those of you who've taken Discovering Buddhism, you want to look at what do these terms mean? and reflect on them, to really get a sense of, oh, can I think of any situations, like, we're not running around, hopefully, but we're not serial killers in here, towards human beings. Serial killers towards other beings, but that's a different story. But but it doesn't mean we don't kill. So we want to be able to see where we're careless with life, just to practice. We're very fortunate. We're not soldiers in an army at this moment, So we want to practice ways in which we can respect life. Just even with our thoughts, just to think about it that way. We want to practice, perhaps you see yourself as generous. And so you want to check up on that. Where are my limits to my generosity? I'm generous, like at this time of year, people often discover that in their generosity of giving gifts, they actually have a reciprocal expectation, that they kind of get miffed if their friends or relatives or whoever you've given a gift to don't actually give back in kind. So you want to look at that, and kind of go, oh, maybe I'm not as generous as I think. It's not, it isn't like we should stop giving with an agenda, but we want to remove this other aspect of it that's attached to getting something in return. Generosity is about getting nothing in return. It has nothing to do with it. The actions of a bodhisattva are selfless. There's no, what is it in it for me part. So does a bodhisattva take care of themselves?
Yes.
Why?
Because they are a source of refuge and benefit for sentient beings.
So I want a specific answer.
They don't take care of themselves.
They can't do that. That's right. So you take care of this body, you take care of your mind, you take care of your health, you take care of your bills, I don't know, because that's the only way you're available to be able to benefit others. Yeah, so you have the right answer, but it's like really get to the point. The point is you cannot be a bodhisattva if you don't take care of yourself, because you'll get sick and die more quickly. So, if we're tired, we have to try to take care of that. It's why we, like if you're staying up too late at night, you have to, rethink that strategy, because you tend to be, what do you call it? Short-tempered or impatient when you're tired, or more sarcastic, or drive really kind of, more aggressively, or maybe you don't really, like you forget to move, the lights turn green and you kind of not paying any attention. So I like this interpretation of the word ethics. In Sanskrit, the word is shila. See, yeah, it's probably pronounced a little bit differently, but I don't know how. So there we go. It's the attainment of coolness. Coolness. I never have because when persons possess ethics, their minds have a peacefulness or coolness free from the heat of regretting what they have done. And maybe. When persons possess ethics, their minds have a peacefulness or coolness free from the heat of regretting what they have done. I think this is from His Holiness, Kindness, Clarity, and Insight. that quote. I don't think we give enough it's reflection on the power of regret. You know, it's like we give a lot of thought about the power of guilt, but regret, you know, it sort of starts with regret, right? But then we take that regret to might kind of mean that, oh, we're just a bad person, and you know, we don't do anything right, and we make it all about us, you know, and it kind of tells us we can't change or whatever, we can't do anything differently, you know. Whereas, you know, the regret in the sense of what is meant in the teachings is this sincere sorrow over having done something that harms, you know, to yourself or others. You know, it's just like, oh, that was a mistake. But there's a lot of restorative power in a virtuous sense of regret. You know, so recognizing that, you know, regret about doing a non-virtue is virtuous, you know, so having that regret and then being able to take that on, you know, like, oh, yeah, I did that. That was the consequence. And to use it to feed a determination not to do it again, you know, and that it can really have power that way. We sap it of power if we turn it into a trait, a character trait. I'm just like that. I'm just not a nice person. I'm just an impatient person. I'm just a jerk. I don't know, whatever way you beat up on yourself. But that, then you've packed it into a suitcase, you know, and you don't actively change it. You just, you know, you just kind of go, well, too bad. And we don't want to do that. And if we think about how much we suffer due to guilt, you know, it's a, you know, it's like we made it a real practice in this country. You know, so it's just what a freedom just to be free from guilt. That does not mean free of regret. It means understanding that when we do things that we regret, we don't have to do them again. Because it's not in our nature to do that thing. You know, that we have choice about doing it, and we can learn from regret.
I see that as a permission not to feel guilty or guilty about taking care of myself rather than taking care of somebody else. But the understanding that if I don't take care of myself, I cannot take care of
Only you can take care of yourself. Yeah. So, yep. That's
So
that's in our little to-do list.
why, but there is that I'm too much into myself to take care of myself.
Well, or are you
Little bit
just,
of guilt.
yeah, and that's all about you. You know, I mean, that's the thing. So we really have to look at that to recognize that feeling guilty is a negative self-absorption. You know, it's, you know, that's a habit. Yes, exactly. Let's shake that habit out. Vanessa, did you have a question?
Yes, good morning, Venerable Tendron. My question is, how do I distinguish the determination of not doing something again from creating aversion? Because I always feel that saying, I don't want to do this again is creating aversion.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being averse to doing negativities.
Okay.
What we don't want to be is averse to ourselves, act as if we are that negativity.
Okay.
We're going to have nasty thoughts, nasty speech, until we're, bodhisattvas, this is not a stretch of the imagination. What we need to do is lessen it. So we're aware of it. We don't have to go, oh, I am a bad person. I don't like myself. That's not true regret. That's mistaking an action or a mental event for who you are. It's an imputation of I'm permanently this way. And it's not true. But there's nothing wrong. You don't want to be best friends with, the desire to murder. So it's just like, so it's okay to have aversion to the action that is negative. It's okay to have joy at the actions that are positive. But as soon as we start like making it like, this is me, then that can lead to, negative guilt, being stuck, or arrogance and pride and like, oh, I'm better than everybody. See what I do, So we don't need any of that. These are not character traits. It's really choices we're making, and that's constant. We're constantly making choices. We just don't realize it because we're habituated to certain choices. So we kind of make them without even thinking, although our mind's very fast and we've actually thought about it. So it's like aversion doesn't have to be a judgment of self. Aversion to speaking a certain way, doesn't, and this is what we want to remember about others. When we're sitting around trashing someone else because we find them, they've done something to us we didn't like. We're doing that. We're doing that exact thing. We're turning the action, the event, into a character trait. And it's not true. Judgment's a really, not a great habit because most of us aren't good at it. It's not clean. Our judgments, through our lens, our particular biases, our, wishes for whatever it is we're wishing for, so it's absolutely murky. So it's not that we don't have to assess, oh, does that action work out well for others, or that action doesn't. It's this idea that somehow we can nail other people for who they really are by judging their actions, and that's too narrow. Yes, Elaine.
So all right, it's just a two-part. One is, aren't we born with certain traits? And then I know we learn habits in life, but I think people have more tendencies towards some things than others do by nature. And then underneath that, my understanding from what I've read and what I'm learning is that we're all pure consciousness underneath all that crap. Like a better way of putting it.
Yeah, we need to be careful about understanding the words. Okay, so first of all, Buddhism agrees that people are born with traits, but they're not traits in the sense of anything other than habits from previous lives. They're just habits. So if you practice a lot of anger, you might be, kind of an unhappy, angry child. If you were, practice a lot of generosity, you may be a generous child. Now, it's not just that habit, it's also resources. You need resources to be generous. So, it's so all of this plays a part. So it's not just that you have habits, you have conditions that also are there. So these are all causes and conditions. Lots of things are going on. But there are no traits like, this is what we do. This is what ignorance does. It thinks that there is some permanent, independent thing from the power of the object, that I have a certain, something that's fixed, that is me. That's ignorance. So we don't want to think that because people, oh, they have a personality of blah, 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 whatever. It might be useful categorization for dealing with them, but it's absolutely not true. They don't have a personality of something. That sounds like something that, is. But, none of us are only that or a fixed anything. We change constantly. And we're just bringing whatever happens. This is why it's so important to recognize when we've gotten, have you ever gotten in the habit of noticing everything that's negative? You realize, oh gosh, I've really started to just, see what everything's wrong with the world. And you can actually kind of go, okay, I got to stop. And you can kind of change that because it's not who you are. When we start thinking that's who I am, then we're giving ourselves a real big obstacle to try to change. Because we think, but that's who I am. I'll break me if I try to change that. I won't be me. There's never been a me like that. So this is why, all of our judgy kind of thinking it's kind of dangerous. So being able to just, when you have those kind of thoughts, to kind of step back for a moment and say, who am I kidding? I don't know. I don't know what's behind this action or that, and somebody else. I don't know, I don't know what that's the long-term result of that is going to be. And just not go there. Yeah.
So if I feel that I'm being judged by someone, that I have to.
Are you sure?
Mm.
We think we can read people's minds. And what's hilarious is we think what's in those minds is us. It really shows how self-obsessed we are. It's just like, they haven't even, we haven't entered their frame of reference at all. And yet, oh, I know, I saw the way they looked at me. I walk around like this. I have that thought creep in from time to time. Well, I can tell it, blah, blah, blah. It's just not true, We can't read other people's minds. And it's dangerous to our own happiness. It increases our suffering to think we can.
And to remember that they are suffering too.
That they're suffering. Yeah. If someone attacks us, you can bet its root cause is some sort of suffering. So this is, so we have to reflect on a lot of things. Just it's instead of really pushing through our days, we want to think about what's going on. I mean, it's just and it becomes a habit. So that at night when you're trying to kind of go through your day and do maybe your purification practice and clean up some of your negativities, if you've been doing this, it's very easy to remember what they are. And hopefully if you've been doing this, when it's time to rejoice in all the positive stuff, you remember those too. So we want to notice if all we're noticing is the negative bits. We want to notice all the moments of kindness, all the thoughts of kindness, all the, the joy we feel when we see someone else happy. We want to remember that too, because that's our Buddha nature. That's the stuff we want to build on. So it's really important to notice that, and to noticing those times when you thought, well, I had that thought, but I ignored it. That's good news. So, or then you have some, so this is just an ongoing process, and it's something that if you practice it enough, your mind is very, very quick. It doesn't take any time. But when you're learning to do it, that takes more time. That means a lot more pausing, a lot more recognizing, oh, I've completely lost where I have no idea what I've been thinking about for the past 2 hours, da 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 da. I haven't noticed anything that I've done. In terms of, how did I relate to my coworkers? How did I do whatever? We want to catch ourselves and recognize, oh, that's not useful. We need to be aware. We need to be interested in what's going on with us. We don't need other people to be interested in it. We need to be interested in it so that we can decide whether or not we're going in a direction we want to go, or a direction that's helpful. So how can we prepare our minds for any family gatherings this holiday season? Don't go. Yeah, don't bring up politics.
Show up and be compassionate.
How do we prepare for that? To show up and be compassionate?
Everybody's doing the best they
Hmm?
having the mindset that everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah, so you can think about things, and things that come, those things that come to mind as soon as someone says something like I just said, and you go, don't go, whatever that is, you want to look at it and actually prepare your mind for it. Okay, so when this happens, let me remember that they're suffering, or they just have this habit, think that's going to make them happy. I don't need to engage with it, whatever it is, And sometimes you'll find that, if these are your family members, you will actually smile, because these are things that you've experienced over and over again with this person, that it's, and they've experienced over and over your stuff. Because that's the deal with family, that kind of stuck with you forever, So, this is the thing. So that's one of the things you want to remember, is that don't kid yourself if you think you're the perfect family guest. That you too bring your stuff to the event, and someone else is preparing their mind, hopefully, to deal with you. So we want to, keep those, we want to be, and do it with an open heart, because one of our options is not to show up. So we're choosing to show up. So we might as well do it with an open-mindedness that's just welcoming to whatever comes up, knowing that you can let it go later. You don't have to get hooked. And if you do get hooked, you're going to have the capacity to perhaps pause and not slap back. So, but it helps to think about these things before the event, to really think about, okay, this is likely to happen. I'm going to remember to breathe. I don't have to get caught up in it. I don't have to be disappointed that this behavior is occurring again. I don't have to be disappointed in myself when my mind goes the same, in that direction, where I'm hurt or, disappointed, or da, 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 that's going to happen, blah, 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 And then, yeah.
Remembering impermanence.
Remembering impermanence. It's just an event, it will end.
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours, 3 hours. Oh, maybe a weekend, but hey, we've lived lots of those, we can get through it. So it's impermanent. And we're choosing to go. It's really important to keep that in mind. We're choosing to go, and it's not going to be perfect. And it may not even be entertaining. And it might not be interesting, and you might not like the food. I mean, it's just, that's it, but you're choosing to go.
No
But it's an opportunity.
It's always an opportunity. And so you can kind of, that's why preparing for it in advance can help a little. And that just means thinking about it and going, what am I dreading, and try to see what could be the opportunity in that. What are my expectations? Can I let go of those perhaps? And don't have a huge expectation of yourself to be perfect. Oh, this year I'm going to have it down. I'm going to, enjoy my time, not get flustered about anything, not get annoyed, don't do that to yourself. But if we think about it, we can help ourselves really choose some different ways of responding than perhaps we did in the past and have a different experience.
I've been doing. I
Good.
got a couple of phrases that I like. One is, "Oh, that's nice,"
Yes.
and then another one is, "Oh, that's amazing."
And another one is, oh, you have to think about that. Just, when it's a different view.
So I think in families, it oftentimes there tends to be the same, it's the same issue.
Oh,
Year after year, and if you don't play your role, then the whole thing falls apart. Like if the comment comes that is to antagonize you and you don't respond like you have for the last 20 Thanksgivings or whatever, then
Fizzles.
fizzles out because there's nowhere to go from that.
so so Rebecca's bringing up the fact that it's, that sometimes people expect you to respond in the same way you've always responded to a certain, comment or subject matter or whatever, and they're trying to get a reaction out of you. If we could read their minds, we might have proof of that. But since we can't read their minds, we don't actually have proof of that. But this is really that, we have cause and effect. We're born into those families, not just because. We've created the cause to be part of that family in this life. So there are these dynamics that are going to be there. So we just need to recognize that, like Rebecca's saying, if we don't react or we don't do just get hooked in that same dance, it can just not be there. It just fizzles out. But they may push again and again and again. So this is all about that tolerating discomfort, not relying on something that you're just, let's just have this little thing, and get it over with kind of thing, because that's often the reason why we respond in a habitual way. We just find it easier. It's just a habit. That's what they expect. I'll give them what they expect, blah, 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 and nothing changed. And you can choose to do that. So it's really, but if you give some thought to it, you may have more opportunities for choice. You may be giving yourself a platform from which to make different choices by having thought about it, because then you'll recognize it when the occasion comes up, and then you can kind of, oh, gee, isn't that interesting? Yeah, isn't that? Yep. Yes. Yes, it's a favorite theme in the entertainment industry. Only at the time, we don't think it's very entertaining, do we? But it's pretty funny. It's just, my stepsisters one day made a pact one year, and they would go DE all the time to each other, and then things would be going to go DE, which was don't engage, don't engage. So they were working together to, because I always forget that my stepmom is their mother. Whole different kind of relationship. So, so I will have no blood family with me at this Christmas, and I have it for, I barely have it these days, but it's so I have the joy of not having those particular habits arise. Well, yeah.
Previous job.
Well, and yeah, so I don't have any, brother, sister stuff going on. That kind of thing, You'd think as an adult that wouldn't happen, but it does, So any of that kind of stuff. They're not my children who get in trouble. Whatever. So, and those of you who have really good family experiences, don't forget to rejoice about it. God, it was wonderful. And remember, you created the cause for it, and you want to keep creating that kind of cause. And it's just, and remember, others are suffering. Send out love and compassion to those who are not having the same experience. Still. And it's so funny how, you can have a really good experience with your family and someone else who's there is having a terrible one. It's just, so it's something to just keep in mind. Yeah, but it's also, we want to be part of a condition that's aware of that too. Because then there's an opportunity there. Because if we gauge everything by our reaction to it, then it's all about us. We're not being full with everyone that's present. That makes sense. Anyway, well, it's been delightful. I hope you have a delightful holiday. All that kind of stuff. Stay all day. See, there we go. Time for the pate. So, all right. So let's take a moment to rejoice that hopefully this hasn't been too much idle chat. That we've shared some time. You think about your motivation in the beginning, and pat yourself on the back for even thinking of a motivation. And one of the great Bodhisattva actions is to give away your merits. Develop the mental wish that all your positive virtues ripen to benefit others. So we'll read Shantideva's prayers. Maybe. It's on page 246 if you have the text, if you would rather look at the text. And I won't pause in between, don't worry. You can do that at home. There you go. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May whose body are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, dispel the miseries. And then the long life prayer for His Holiness. 244. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, page 234, I think. On those of you with the prayer books. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings and sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you. So are there announcements?
Yes, there are announcements.
You can come over here. Come over here, just so they can hear you.
So first, I don't really need to be on the screen.
I don't either, but somehow you just have to be.
Hi. Okay, so first we want to congratulate Anthony. Anthony is a newlywed. So congratulations, Anthony. Yeah, he and Patricia were married December 2nd, correct? Yeah, so there is a card going around somewhere for Anthony, so please, if you want to add a little note for posterity, Marianne has the card. And also, let's see. So the calendar for January, I promise it will be out this week. Yeah. So we have a little meeting today afterwards talking about the program. I'm pretty sure that on the 7th, so we will be reconvening on the 7th. And I believe we're going to have a water bowl and altar class on the 7th, which will basically be, we will put together an altar and do water bowls, and we'll talk about the way that we do it in our lineage. So that's, I know
it's a merit building opportunity. And also, if you ever want to volunteer to help, but you really feel like, I don't know how, you can get over that.
Yes. Yeah. So, and also I believe I'd like to do in the first week of January. I don't know how many people will be able to help. Depends on what day is good for people. I'm thinking maybe the Wednesday or Thursday to come in and do a deep clean of the center. So if there are people that would like to do that and you have a date preference, if you could speak to Margaret, raise your hand. Margaret is our She's our administrator of the center. She handles everything. She's amazing. And so Jack, raise your hand, Jack. I think probably most everyone knows Jack. Jack is amazing. He's been on the board. How many years now have you been on the board? Time just flies when you're having fun. But I started coming to the center in 2011, and Jack was here. He's been coming since 2000. What 2000? 2000. So Jack is on the board. He's on the management committee. He's actually studying to become a registered teacher. And there was a gap. We didn't have an SPC, and Jack very kindly threw himself out for that as well, and was so
That spiritual program coordinator.
Oh, sorry, yes, spiritual program
That's it.
coordinator.
I didn't volunteer.
Well, okay.
What was that phrase you used?
Voluntold. Yeah,
Voluntold.
yeah, we do some voluntelling sometimes. It makes things work. But so Jack agreed. I don't know if it was reluctantly, I don't know what, but he did agree that. And so now, Don, can you raise your hand? Don has agreed. Were you voluntold, or was it? No,
I was voluntold to come, so to teach. So this is just the way it is.
right. So Don has been coming since 2013, 14. What? Yeah. To the center.
I thought you'd been here longer than that.
And he was on the board. He's been a longtime student of our FPMT lineage, and Don has enthusiastically agreed,
Accepted his fate.
yeah, to accepted his karma and is rolling with it, and he is going to take over the duties of spiritual program coordinator. And so I'm really rejoicing in that. I think Jack's rejoicing in that. Anthony's rejoicing in that. It's and Anthony is the assistant director of the center, and I am the director. And I know this is getting long-winded, but I do want, if you can think about, like, if you enjoy coming to the center and you want to be a part of the center only exists
Because you exist.
Yes.
That's it.
And yes, Steve.
Whether you got cleaning and et cetera, if you can send us a reminder email, you might get more volunteers.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. If anybody here wants to do it, and Wednesday or Thursday are kind of what I'm thinking, if you can let Margaret know your preference. But my point is, when I became director again, my second go round, I was also voluntold. So yeah, that just occurred to me. I said that I would do it for 2 years. I've got like a little over a year and a half left. Anthony, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing. He's also been doing, like, he's done the full Discovering Buddhism program.
Took all the tests.
He would be an amazing teacher as well. But what happens is the minutia of running the center, of getting things done. It takes time, it takes effort. And I would be thrilled to see more people get more involved. I mean, we definitely appreciate and need and love that people are physically helping out with the center, like doing the water bowls and the, all the volunteer positions. But for things to go forward, to continue, we need other people to take leadership positions and be able to, relieve Jack so he can, get on with his getting enlightened and that sort of thing, and to relieve Anthony so that he can be a teacher. And if you just put in your mind, if you would be interested and willing to take a more active role, that's something I'd like to, in the next quarter, have a meeting where people who are interested, or if you just want to talk one-on-one to any of us, anyway, just something I wanted to put out there. And also, financially, FPMT, we are an FPMT center, but FPMT doesn't give us any financial support. In fact, we give dues and donations to other centers and other sangha and different things. So, financial resources are always welcome as well. Yes, Anne.
You said, about the deep cleaning on a Wednesday or Thursday night. If I remember, they're having a yoga on
Wednesday, yes, I'm gonna talk about that too. No, I wasn't even thinking night. I know a lot of people don't like to drive at night, so if we did, I know that some people work and can't come during the day, you know, whatever organically works out, but I'm gonna bring the steam cleaner, we're gonna move everything clean, we're gonna take, ideally, if I had some strong people to help, these statues are very heavy. Ideally, I'd like to take everything off the altars and clean them and dust them. So we do have, which an exciting development, I talked to Hernan a couple days ago, the yoga. Hernan is now doing 2 days a week. He's doing Tuesday is chair yoga. So, and you can still get, who's doing chair yoga? Margaret, so you feel it's still, it's not,
It's
go ahead.
for 1 hour. It's
From 6 to 7.
6 to 7, yeah.
Yeah.
You need to come.
Yes.
I always hurt myself, so.
Well, I'm coming on Tuesday. So, and then Wednesday, there's more traditional yoga, any level. And Gladys, when are going to do your next sound bowl?
Probably the last Friday of January, because we just did one this
Right.
Friday.
Okay.
And-
Yeah, so
and
look
maybe
for
we'll
that.
add another one because we're getting a good turnout.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
All right.
Okay, so things are happening, and Don is very enthusiastic with his, and so we've got some ideas for some more courses, maybe a little bit more advanced courses, peppering some things in, and we want to share more of what other FPMT centers are doing that our students might be able to take advantage of and enjoy via Zoom. So I think that's it. So thank you all for being here. I
Thank
hope everyone has very pleasant holidays with lots of pauses. So
Enjoy the awareness.
yeah, I'm very happy to do it.
See you soon.
Have a wonderful trip and a wonderful vacation.
Thank you.
That cat food.
Thank you, Venerable